guys. I'm so glad you've joined me again. Today is our fourth day, and today we get to start talking about Moses. It's been so fun learning about Joseph and Abraham so far. I hope that you've enjoyed it, and I hope you had fun making your coat of many colors for Joseph yesterday. All right, so the story of Moses. We're going to split Moses' story into lots of different stories because there's so much that we can learn from him. So today we're going to talk about just the very get-go of the story of Moses. So I'm going to read it to you, and then you're going to look at some pictures that I have for the story, and we're going to go a little bit more in depth, and then we're going to sing a song about it and get your craft. So this is the story of Moses, and here we go. Moses was an Israelite boy who was born in Egypt. At the time Moses was born, the Pharaoh, who was the ruler of Egypt, ordered that all the Israelite boys should be killed. His mother was afraid for Moses, so she sent him in the river in a basket. Can you imagine how she felt thinking that her little boy was going to have to be killed? But she figured out what she was going to do, and so she put him in a basket in the river. And then his sister, you see his sister right over here, is going to come into play. Moses had a big sister named Miriam, who watched over him while he was in the river. Soon the Pharaoh's daughter found Moses. She wanted to protect Moses from her father, so she decided she would raise Moses as her own son. Miriam saw this and suggested that her mother could be the baby's nurse. The Pharaoh's daughter agreed, so Moses and his mother were reunited and spent a lot of their time together. So Moses, we're going to stop right there. Moses was in the river, and I'm sure his mom was afraid when she put him in the river. But God knew what was going to happen. God knew that Moses was going to get saved. He sent the Pharaoh's daughter down to protect him. And then in the end, Moses got to go home and be with his mom and be raised by his mom until he was old enough to go live in the palace. So even though Moses' mom didn't know what was going to happen, it all turned out exactly like it should have. It had been many years since Joseph had been the right-hand man of Pharaoh. A new Pharaoh was in charge, and he grew very uneasy about how the Hebrews were multiplying and prospering in the land of Goshen. He made the Hebrews slaves. Pharaoh placed taskmasters over them and made their work very difficult. Even though the work was tough, they continued to multiply. Pharaoh decided to take it a step further. He told the midwives to kill any baby boy born to a Hebrew woman. The midwives refused. They helped to protect the babies. God blessed the midwives for their protection of the Hebrew babies. Pharaoh then commanded the baby Hebrew boys to be thrown into the river, but the girls could live. A young Hebrew couple gave birth to a son. The mother saw how beautiful the baby was, and she hid him for 3 months at home. Then, when she could no longer hide him at home, she made a basket and put the baby in the basket on the river. The baby's sister watched from a distance to see what would happen to the baby. One day, the Pharaoh's daughter, a princess, came to bathe in the river. She had all her maids with her. As she was walking along the river, she spied the basket in the reeds. She sent one of the maids to bring it to her. When she opened it, a beautiful baby was inside the basket. He started to cry, and her heart was touched. She knew that it must be one of the Hebrew children. The baby's sister walked to the princess and asked her if she needed someone to nurse and care for the baby. The princess said yes, and the sister ran home and got the baby's mother. The princess told the mother to take the baby home and nurse him. The princess would pay the baby's mother. When the baby was older, the mother brought him back to the princess. The princess called him Moses because she drew him out of the water. Moses grew up in the palace with Pharaoh's daughter as his mother. Moses had been saved by God. God placed Moses in the river at just the right spot to be rescued by the princess of Egypt, Pharaoh's daughter. Moses' own mother raised him while he was young. When he was old enough, he went to live in the palace with Pharaoh's daughter. God was preparing him for a big job. God loves his children. He has plans for each of us. God will take care of you and prepare you for doing great things in your future. God loves you and has something special planned for your life. The story of Moses has so many things that we can learn from, and I hope that you remember that as we start to study him over the next little bit. All right, so I have a song for you, and then I'm gonna show you what our craft is for today. So this song is sung to the tune of the Itsy Bitsy Spider, and it goes like this. Itty bitty Moses was crying in his room. Then came his mother and sang a little tune. Hush, little baby, the Lord will be your guide, and no one will ever harm you, for God is by your side. Into a basket the baby Moses went, placed into the Nile and to the palace sent. Hush, little baby, the Lord will be your guide, and no one will ever harm you, for God is by your side. Lovely Pharaoh's daughter saw Moses in the Nile, picked him up and loved him and raised him as her child. Hush, little baby, the Lord will be your guide, and no one ever harm you if the Lord is by your side. Isn't that a sweet little tune? How about you sing it with me this time? Here we go. Itty bitty Moses was crying in his room. Then came his mommy and sang a little tune. Hush, little baby, the Lord will be your guide, and no one will ever harm you, for God is by your side. Into a tiny basket the baby Moses went, placed into the Nile and to the palace sent. Hush, little baby, the Lord will be your guide, and no one will ever harm you, for God is by your side. Lovely Pharaoh's daughter saw Moses in the Nile, picked him up and loved him and raised him as her child. Hush, little baby, the Lord will be your guide, and no one will ever harm you, for God is by your side. I think it's a great reminder that God is always by our side, and God has big plans for our life. All right, for your craft today, I have the pictures of the story. So I've got baby Moses, and then I've got Miriam, who's hiding in the bushes, and then I've got Pharaoh's daughter, and then I've got Moses as he grows up, and then I've got Pharaoh up at the palace. So what I want you to do is you have them on a big piece of paper. I want you to cut them out, color them, and then you can put them on sticks and you can act out the story. Okay, I want you to act out the story of baby Moses and what happened. If you don't have sticks, go outside and find some branches that have fallen down out of the trees, or you can use pencils. There's lots of things you can use. Just because you don't have a popsicle stick in your house doesn't mean you can't still do this. All right, have fun acting out the story, and I'll see you tomorrow.